coming. Do I have anything for public comment before the regular agenda? Yes, Sue?
Sharon, this has been brought to my attention. They are still dumping tires over to the yard. I was told by somebody that they are still dumping tires over there, number one. Number two, I would like to thank Heidi, Sharon, and Joe DePatie for giving me a call last week with the flooding. It was kind of nervous when I saw the water coming back up, but we were okay. One thing that's kind of scared me, and my neighbor and I went over Saturday to check, because I didn't know if it was our riverbank that's been giving us problem. There was 3 or 4 great big chunks of bank going down the river. And I went over Saturday with my neighbor, but it was not from our bank, thank God. So I'm keeping an eye on that as well. But we're okay with our bank right now. That's about all I have to say. It's just thank you. I appreciate it.
It's hard to believe that the water was at the bottom of the East Highgate Bridge.
It was scary again.
That's basically 15 feet of water.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of
I'm
water.
pretty depressed that new bridge got washed out.
You know how glad I am they're finished?
Right? So they went from being able to mow the river that line.
Yeah, scary stuff, and we're thankful that we missed out on
The worst.
the worst of it, but we are, our thoughts and prayers go out for those that still have repairs to do. Because a lot of people have a lot of damage. So, any other public comments? Okay, moving right along. Vermont Fish and Wildlife. Hello.
Hi, I'm Jane Lazarchuk. This is Amy Mikula. We both work for Fish and Wildlife. I oversee public land for the department, and Tony is a biologist out of the Essex District Office. Do you all have the materials that Tony emailed you ahead of time? So we meet with select boards as our way of doing due diligence prior to any state acquisition in a community. By statute, we're obligated just to notify you of acquisitions, but we take this obligation very seriously. We never move forward with an acquisition in town without the support of the select board. So this is our opportunity to educate you about the project and answer any concerns or questions that you might have about it. So as you may or may not know, we own wildlife management areas statewide. Those are there to provide for both public access for wildlife-based recreation as well as conservation of significant wildlife habitats and natural communities. And we own and have owned for a significant amount of time in Highgate, the Rock River Wildlife Management Area. It's not been an area that we've focused on acquiring new lands at as of late. But we recently, with a lot of attention on water quality in the state, got new funding via Senator Leahy's office to direct the Fish and Wildlife Department to focus our acquisition efforts on projects that have water quality benefits as well as a restoration component. So the monies are explicitly intended for properties that both provide wetland conservation, but also have an added benefit of providing an opportunity to do some restoration and enhancement work on the parcel. So the DeRocha property was on the market. It was actually forwarded to us by Ducks Unlimited, who actually manages a very similar program in the state with different funding. This is federal funding that we have that's already been matched, so 100% of the funds used to acquire this property will be federal funds. And we reached out to the DeRochas. We did an appraisal on the property. The appraisal came in significantly lower than what they were asking for the property. Because the property was on the market for a prolonged period of time and different variations of the way they were trying to sell it. And because they're very committed to Fish and Wildlife Department, they were excited to move forward with us anyway. And we worked out some deal where they're going to take the barn down and keep it for themselves, move it on to another property, as well as we'll remove the mobile home from the parcel with our own funding. And so the property will be added to Rock River. Those lower fields that abut the river and abut the intact wetland system are all very wet. He hasn't had them grazed for a while, but there were cows out there for a while. And so there's a lot of wetland restoration opportunity in those open fields, as well as enhancement by the removal of the cows from the woodlot to add water quality benefits. And then we'll also acquire the upland portion on the east side just as part of the package, even though it's a little bit different than what we were intended to use the funds for. So we have the funds. A lot of times the concern around state ownership is loss of tax revenue. So the way we pay taxes through our payment in lieu of tax program has changed recently. In 2016, the way we value new acquisitions is different than the way we valued our existing state ownership. And so the state will pay the same municipal tax rate, the same municipal taxes, I should say, that the DeRocha family was paying to the town of Highgate. And then every 5 years, that goes up based on the average growth of municipal taxes statewide. So we'll pay the municipal tax portion of the property going forward, and that'll get lumped into the payment that you receive already for the existing lands that we have. So it's 124 acres. We hope to close in the next few months if the town supports it. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
Yes. Do you actually have a plan to do any management?
On this site, well, the focus
On the
rate
entire
for,
thing?
like, timber harvest,
On the entire Rock River Wildlife Management Area?
we have a long-range management plan. I'm not sure exactly what that plan says, but because it's largely a wetland system, timber harvest, if that's what you're speaking about mostly, is not always a primary objective in our wetland ownerships, although we do timber management on most of our WMAs. And this one, I would imagine there would be some enhancement, especially on the upland portion through timber management, and then especially active restoration down in the lowland.
Oh, people aren't gonna like my comment, but
That's fine.
I really see most of the wildlife management area management in the entire northern part of the state here basically being a case of benign neglect.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just timber management. I mean, you've got all sorts of wetland habitat management. You've got areas that are being overtaken by invasive species where nothing's being done.
I know Tony was out
Frag-
recently managing phragmites at Rock River, so this
Well,
fall.
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm invited to see it, but
If you
it's
know
a
of any
pet.
fragmites on the WMA, just let me know where it is and I'll,
Yeah.
I'm already taking care of some that's growing along St. Armand Road near the rail trail crossing.
Well,
You know of any
that's
fragments beside
super.
Mm-hmm.
That really is super. But that's a pet peeve, I guess, that
Of course.
I'm getting to be kind of old and crusty in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see is a lot of state areas not truly being managed. They're just being ignored, and that really bothers me.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm picking on the two of you.
Yeah, I hear you. We're here to take it, which is
Yeah.
fine. I can take it, so I appreciate hearing the response.
I've been in the forestry business for 50 years, or no, 40 years. And, state forests are an even bigger pet peeve, but
I know in this region, in the Essex district in particular, we own a lot of smaller WMAs spread out that, you're right, a lot of times can have encroachments, invasives issue, management that needs active attention. And we try to do as much as we can, but of course, I'm sure things slip away. And, Tony's main job when she was hired is explicitly to be a wildlife specialist, only working on our WMAs, to be on the ground implementing management, and she's been here 2+ years now.
2 years.
Yeah, and so there was a recognition that we needed people not just doing the migratory waterfowl bird planning and the acquisition and the big the picture stuff, but really needed boots on the ground to actually be managing our lands, and that's
Sure,
Tony's
it comes
explicit job.
down to
Only in
manpower
Essex.
too. I mean, it's just a lot of acreage that you have to maintain
Of
and.
course, yeah. Mhm. And we do have an MOU. It's harder for Forest Parks and Recreation, who manage state parks and state lands, state forests, I should say. They are funded through the general fund almost exclusively. So as there's a downturn in general funding because of recession, their budget's impacted a lot more than ours is, because our budget is primarily funded through excess tax on guns and ammo. It's how our salaries are paid through the Pittman Robertson funds. And so we actually have an MOU with FPR, and we pay them to do management on our WMAs. So, and that's been especially true since the downturn. And I think a lot of the state foresters and state managers spend more time on our WMAs the past decade than they do even on state forests, which is a response to the funding that's available for them to be on the ground.
For example, I know 20-odd years ago, a really concerted effort was made out at the Fairfield Swamp Wildlife Management Area to try and do some ruffed grouse habitat management. And it was a great project, and it was really beneficial for a number of years, but nothing's been done since then. And now the habitat for ruffed grouse in particular is gone. And not that you need, I'm not saying you should be focused on just one species exclusively, but
They are in decline right now.
I see a real decline in that kind of effort to actually do some real on-the-ground management, and that's my criticism of the agency.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me vent.
No problem. I will say Dave Sosville, the head district biologist, he was out marking a timber management project at Sandbar WMA today.
Good.
And the next one is going in at Lower Otter Creek WMA in Ferrisburg. So we are, they manage a lot of land, and I hear you. That we
Bill
can't
Crenshaw and Dave Sosville are personal
Yeah,
acquaintances.
they're wonderful.
And they have suffered with hearing me out as well.
Thank you for your comments.
So, the upper portion, that wasn't really your intent.
The sugar stand.
Yeah, and it is mostly, I looked at the property notes. Purpose of that in the future is gonna be to, wildlife trails or?
Yeah, we, as an organization, unlike state parks and state forests, have primarily focused on dispersed recreation. We don't do trail development per se on our property, but that would be incorporated in a long-range management plan for that piece, and the sugaring will not continue on the property, and there'll be a public process to weigh in on habitat management on that portion. But I imagine there'll be some habitat management and enhancement.
Like 38 acres or something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. And you think it's all sugar maple, but it seems like when we were out there that the sugar maple's pretty concentrated down near the road, and as you get up, it gets younger and more mixed, and not as much sugar maple actually.
So, my question would be, as I spoke earlier, would you like another piece of land? In that small,
We were gonna bring
Small
that up,
area.
that was brought up to
Yes.
Bill Crenshaw before he retired. And then it came to me, and
Yes.
we've never acted on it. It seems like the perfect time, if the town is interested in working with us on that inholding, that to move forward with it. I heard you mention funding. The funding that we have for the DeRocha parcel cannot be applied to that because it doesn't
Right.
have wetland restoration on it. But potentially, we have duck stamp funds that are excised from the sale of duck stamps. I'm not sure how the duck stamp committee, they evaluate that piece, but it may be possible to put a nominal amount of money towards that piece,
I think,
to not make it free, but.
right, I think we're very agreeable to a nominal fee, but just a little something so we can tell our taxpayer, to
Yes.
payers that, yes, this landlocked piece of property is,
Roughly, is it roughly 10 acres?
it's 11.4 acres. And it's right surrounded by your
Yes.
already property that you own, so it would give you one nice big piece.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes, and it would be great knowing going forward if we were gonna work on that along with the DeRocha, that it'd be great to have a point of contact to work on in the town with that.
You can,
Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think would be a great piece of property to go with your already existing, and like I said, the town's not looking to make, yeah, no, we're just,
The money we get from pilot is better than what we're getting now.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we've already put it up for tax sale, and nobody's interested in it at this point, so the neighbors are not interested in it, so you are our last neighbor.
Sounds good.
So yeah,
To be the last resort.
I think this would be, it would be great.
So that would be great, thank you.
Yeah, no, we'd be,
Happily work on that now, and
Yeah.
it has felt like maybe a hard thing to prioritize when, in the past, but now
Sure.
that it's all part, we can sort of, combine efforts and economy of scale put together with the other parcel would be great.
yeah, I think that would be fantastic.
Great.
We would look forward to that.
So if the committee feels supportive of the project overall, we've prepared some sample text that you could vote to sign, or you can reflect it in your minutes, or however you choose to support or not support the project would be great. We use your town support when we, ultimately the governor obviously buys and sells land, we act on his behalf, and
Yes.
we prepare a memo to the governor, and we support, we provide a town letter with it to show that the town's been supportive.
Okay. So what are our thoughts, or the thoughts of the public?
I'm in support of it.
I'm in support of it.
Okay, so can we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, all those in favor say aye.
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 So it will reflect in our minutes as well. So this just says, after reading your letter that summarized the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department involvement and discussing the project further with Ms. Lazarchuk at our select board meeting on November 7th, we are writing to confirm that we have no objection to their involvement in the acquisition of the 124-acre DeRocher property.
So taxes are delinquent on that property. It's this one, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Great.
That will be settled, I'm assuming,
At
prior to
closing.
the,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Part of the deal, normally,
Sleep tonight.
normally
Attorneys will
we
sort all that out.
prorate taxes at closing for the tax year.
Mhm.
But as part of the deal, when the appraisal came in lower, we agreed to pay the full tax year. But I didn't know that I was agreeing to that, and they hadn't paid any of it yet. That makes sense now. Yeah.
Full tax year plus penalties. Yes, you now have extra fees.
You don't want your
See
personal
the
check.
state, the deep pockets of the state.
Right.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, and I'll relay your concerns to Dave Soswell and others, since he knows you, and just say thank
Yeah,
you. We're very nice about it. and
You can tell him Bruce Butler says hi.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
And-
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming,
Yeah, appreciate it.
and we look forward to,
Yeah, working with you on the project. Yeah, thanks, Sharon,
All
very
right.
much.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice evening, you guys.
Good luck
you
with
too.
it.
Okay. Moving right along. MVR, so I see Josh is here. Josh, are you our speaker tonight? No, there. Hello.
Hello. I'm not really sure what you guys really want. You never really put it out there exactly.
Okay.
So what we did was, from July until November 1st, we put out what we have done for calls and dispatched to on-scene time.
Okay. Okay.
Shut the door.
So everything seems to be going well.
Yep. We took your advice from our last meeting, and our ambulance have been coming up. I think they have a log too. So they're spending time up here, and it's being logged down at the bay,
Okay,
you know, so we're being more visible,
great.
so.
Yeah.
There's one parked at Frog Pond most days.
Pardon?
There's one parked at Frog Pond
Yeah.
most days.
Yep.
Yep.
The log is relatively new, otherwise we would have shared it with you, but it was our way of motivating people, saying, here's a log, you gotta document where you are, so that we could make sure we're doing our due diligence.
Yep. I think it just makes people feel more comfortable. It may not mean a tinker's darn in the long run, but it does make,
No, and it makes our response times quicker as
Yes.
well if we're up here,
Well,
so.
the thing is during the daytime, we're paying those 2 crews, so there's no reason why we can't, have that more visibility and that more roaming ability to serve our citizens more effectively.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that you listened and enacted a
Also
response to
want
that.
to thank you for it coming up Halloween night. I think that was good, bringing the truck, parking it in the bay over here. I think that was good, showing that, I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, I think kids
Yeah.
enjoy that and they like to feel more comfortable. Just in the long run, that as comfortable as we can get them with authority figures and
Yeah.
medical response, fire response, so nobody hides. Yeah,
And we've been doing more community stuff even in Swanton, so obviously the more stuff that you guys have will be up here and more involved.
sure, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've done in the last month, well, actually, we were pretty active at the end of the school year, but so far in this school year, we've trained over 40 of the high school kids and certified them in CPR.
Oh, wonderful.
And we've been able to do that at 0 cost to the school or the students, so they're, with a good initiative from the American Heart Association, we've been able to jump on that and certify those kids so that eventually we'll hopefully have the whole student population certified, which, looking at other places across the country that have been able to do it, they've been able to increase their out-of-hospital cardiac arrest survival by making sure the community is trained.
Right.
And this coming February, we're gonna be offering up at least 3 or 4 open classes, teaching people just hands-only CPR, because February is Heart Month. So I'm gonna try to work with the fire department to see if we can host one up here, and we're gonna host one in Swanton, to try to get citizens out to learn the real basics of hands-only CPR. And those courses will be at 0 cost. There will be not a certification card, but it'll at least give people the understanding of how to do hands-only CPR, which is what the initiative from the Heart Association is for that month.
Right. That would be great. Let us know, and Wendy's super at social media, so she can get it right out there and let everybody know and get good attendance. It only has to save one life to make it all worth it. So, do you have any questions for Mrs. Bilodeau or Mr. Stell or Mr. Ramsdale? Certainly.
So at the arena, this year we have Milton High School, this is going to be their home ice.
Okay.
I know in the past, we've talked a little bit about giving you guys schedules. Not that you're required to be there, but just so you know, if you have,
John Lumsden and I have been doing a lot of talking because they now have athletic trainers.
Yes.
And so we haven't been going to the games. I don't think we're going to be needed at basketball, but we haven't spoke about ice yet. And he and I have been having that conversation. He's just trying to figure out if we're needed or not needed, and we're open for it. So
Yeah.
it's whatever he wants us to do.
Okay. Well,
The athletic trainers have taken over the majority of our job when it comes to the athletics, so.
I figured if you'd like us to forward you a
Yeah.
Milton game schedule, we can. And that way, if you have a squad in town, and you just want to pop in,
Yep.
nothing required or,
Yep,
but
Sure.
something for your squad to do while they're in town, or,
Watch a good game.
so should I have it forward to you, Lynn, or?
Or do you have, it doesn't matter, me or Josh or Joey, yeah.
Okay,
I'll give it to you when I leave, I'll give you my email.
okay,
Okay?
yeah,
I have Josh's,
Yeah, Josh's?
I have Josh's email as well.
Okay.
okay,
That'll be good, you'll send it to Josh.
okay.
You'll post it, thank you.
So my only question would be, I see we have a couple of times that are in the 20-minute range.
A couple of, well, in the month of July, we had some new people and kind of got lost with our GPS. We also have a couple of, we have the police department will have us on standby, so we're actually not on scene. We're standing by and then we get the clearance to go in. So that's why some of these are extensive. We've kind of cut them back considerably after, there was one that's a 25-minute, and that again was a standby. So, we get dispatched, but we're technically not on scene until they clear us. So,
What we can do in the future is highlight those, saying that we were held from responding to the scene, to make, for clarification purposes.
It just makes,
yeah,
That way-
the person who looks next time says, wow, geez, they didn't show up in time, but it's an extenuating circumstance.
Yeah, sometimes there's,
so we've held to the average 10-minute response out of 114 calls, so. You're gonna have, and with winter coming, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they seem to be, the calls tend to be the furthest out. So I expect some of those times to be lengthy,
Yep.
so.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you very much for coming.
Right.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. And do you want us do you want to do quarterly, is that what you're looking for, or?
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
Wanna do
please.
quarterly?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll see you in 3 months.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Oh, no, I'm on, girls' weekend.
Okay, Shelley.
There's the,
How dare you leave me, Shelley?
Okay, check run. Did everyone get my last minute email? There was a few additions in there
No, I did
from this
not.
afternoon. Mostly, Michelle dropped off her whole month's worth of stuff this week. So the library has a lot more invoices. The arena has very few, and the highway has just a couple. But there's also 10 taxpayers, you'll notice in the first couple of pages, that got refunded for tax overpayments.
Was that on that list?
You were not. Mostly it's the people that file their tax, they ask for an extension on filing their taxes, or they filed their homestead late, so they end up paying their full bill, and then once their prebate comes in, we refund it to them. So,
So has everyone had a chance to look at the check warrant? Do we have a motion to sign?
I'll make a motion to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
okay, signing what? Taxes were due last Friday. And it was busy.
And you still have all your hair, so that's good.
It's thinning. Most of it. And it's dyed, you can't see the gray.
You don't have to tell people that.
It gets darker every year. We ended the year a little bit higher than past years, and it was a really weird year. People that aren't normally late were. One excuse was he was busy on Friday, so he couldn't make it.
I was just busy.
I had 3 people say they thought, well, one person thought they had the whole month of November, and then a few people thought they had until the 11th. It was a very weird year. So the delinquent amount for this year was, as of, close of business, November 1st, $263,556. $44,863 of that have already come in. Those are the forgetting. Yes. Yep. And then a few, yeah. Last year, we ended business day at 204, so it's like 60,000 higher than normal. Like I said, it was a really weird list. Also, I've already sent a list to the attorneys this morning. I started working on it yesterday with Kristen Shamus from Monahan Sapphire Duchamp. So there are 21 parcels that owe multiple years at this point. And it's getting further and further away, so we're gonna nip it in the bud, or at least get them on some kind of payment plan. So there's 21 parcels that they either have done nothing, they've not contacted me at all, they owe multiple years, they're not on a payment plan. They'll get a demand letter from the attorneys tomorrow. And that equals $47,213. That's going to tax sale. Hopefully none of them do end up there, but I would like to get their attention sooner than later.
Yes.
That's all I have for you.
Okay.
Sharon,
Yes.
and I will say it, they should set up a budget
Sure.
plan, pay it every month. I did last year for the first time.
Which one?
And I am
Tax
so
sale?
thankful I did that, because you never
See if
know
the
what
rate
comes
is
off
on
of the
We'll
year.
warn 'em.
You know, budget so much money, put it aside for each month, because you never know what comes on throughout the year.
More and more people are getting the hang of, it's offered, it's available. I don't have the exact amount, but the last time I checked, there's over $20,000 of people that have already prepaid for
And I
next
talked to a lot
year.
of people in Highgate too, it's the way to go.
One lady had her funds now and she didn't know she'd have them next year, so she ended up paying this year and next year when she came in this year, so the word is getting out there. And I'd much rather see them on a budget plan and be able to afford
Exactly,
than
exactly.
have them pay extra fees, and that's unnecessary. Anyone that you needed? Okay.
Just remember when you're seeing a relative on there and they didn't know about it, and I was like, how do you not know that? But there's
Well, I
something
think their
else.
mail was getting shredded before they got to it. 'Cause
Okay.
that's all I have for you.
All right. Keep up the great work.
I wasn't able to get a, well, here Josh, I'll give you a copy. I wasn't able to get the budget in Dropbox before our meeting, so I printed you all copies, and it's in there now, I just, so you be able to view that. So there. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Moving right along. Wendy.
Our last meeting was October 16th, that Wednesday meeting that people forgot about.
Yep. Okay.
Including Jerry.
Right? I wasn't gonna name names.
She threw you under the bus, Jerry.
That's okay. They don't always tell me when something changes until the next day.
It's all right.
Did they send somebody in my stead or?
No.
Now I'm gonna have to take the task for not replacing me with somebody nicer.
Couldn't be nicer, Jerry.
Right.
Couldn't be nicer.
Wise fishing for that.
So do I have a motion for the minutes of October 16th?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so I put together a meeting schedule for 2020. First and third Thursdays of every month, with the exception of July and December, just one meeting, which is what we did this year. I always ask, and I'm gonna ask again, if there's any interest in starting your meetings at 6 instead of 7. You're the only board that starts at 7, so I always put it out there for discussion.
What do you think?
I'd be okay with it, to tell you the truth, but
I would be too.
I wouldn't,
No.
because right in the middle of basketball season, I guess you get through that,
Oh,
be one
that's right.
thing, but
Is that the only season that it affects you though?
I think so, right, and I think track.
That's 4
everything
meetings.
up, yeah.
Right. 3, if you get December, then only have.
It runs through December,
If
January.
you wanted to do a
February.
trial run, I mean, I don't know. how you-
Or maybe we do all but those months at 6.
I'll go along with that.
So all
See the
7 months is
compromising?
what?
Love it.
Basketball is what? November, December, January?
Starts December 2nd,
Oh, okay.
goes through to March. Off to make playoffs, but
I don't have to worry about that.
here we go. March 4th, 5th.
Ain't that awful?
I mean.
Always have games on Thursdays?
There's a good chance, but practices go, if I get in that swing, I try to get them right after school, but I gotta share.
We're
with the other
compromising
coaches.
here, it's okay. Let's start with this. Next year we'll get the whole,
Bruce, what are your thoughts?
I'm happy with the way things are. But I don't coach anything.
I mean, I don't even stay for
Well, this is the
executive
first
and
vote,
it's late.
so
I would not be opposed to being home earlier, but that's just me.
you get to leave before us.
That's what I just said, I
Yeah.
don't even stay
Yeah.
for executive.
I don't know. I'm not opposed to starting earlier, but in the summer months it'd be rough.
To start earlier?
Yeah, because I'm usually out doing something till, because it's nice out, sun's out.
I'm working constantly, so it doesn't make any difference. So I'll make a motion one way or another.
sounds like it dies for lack of emotion.
Oh,
I mean, it doesn't really affect me because kids are in bed no matter what. So, I mean, if I start at 6 or 7, it doesn't really affect me. If I get home late, it doesn't affect me.
How's 6:30?
Oh. That's interesting.
Let's see, what time's Jeopardy start?
Seven, Josh, 7.
Wheel of Fortune?
basketball schedule, practice schedules are 3 to 4:30 and 4:30 to 6. So
You can make it 6:30?
I got a half an hour to get from here to Richford.
That's doable.
Okay.
Trust me.
You don't miss the play.
I don't want to carpool with him. Let him drive.
Trust me.
I mean, if it doesn't work,
Just sit in the back seat.
Yeah,
You just missed public comment, we're fine.
I'll make the motion 6:30.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
No,
Okay. 6:30 it is.
okay. All right, that's a little progress.
We try.
Real quickly, the Secretary of State's office just announced their transparency tour all around the state, where he talks about open meeting law, Public Records Act, elections, security. The St. Albans meeting is November 21st, which is actually the night of our next select board meeting. But it is at 6 p.m. at St. Albans Town Hall on Lake Road. If anybody's interested in going. They are all over the state, different dates, but none of them are close to here except for Williston, and that meeting's already gone by. So it's on our website, on the Facebook page, and it's posted around town if anybody's interested in going. The last thing I have for you is actually from the lister's office. Amy and Pete have filled out this form and signed it. It's a correction to the grand list based on a lister error, which by statute, in lieu of abatement, that towns could use to accomplish many of the same purposes as abatement, the listers may correct obvious errors in the grand list with the approval of the select board before December 31st of each year. So in this case, it was U.S. Fish and Wildlife purchased some property on Monument Road. 6 acres in the town of Highgate, 10 acres overall, some was in Swanton. The listers read the deed as a covenant or right-of-way rather than a sale, so the ownership was never transferred. It stayed in the grand list as the previous owners. It generated a tax bill as the previous owners, which is when we got the phone call.
I'm sure.
So,
So that land is sold, is that what you're saying?
it sold last October to, I got a copy of the deed right here.
It was the same guy that came down to my house about a year ago. I remember it was a guy from Milton.
The people that sold it was, I think, a bunch of siblings, LaRock, Bromstead, Moore, Conti, and Bacon. Those are the last names of all the siblings. And they sold a total of 10.33 acres to U.S. Fish and Wildlife on October 3rd of 2018. $29,000 for the 6 acres in Highgate. That's what they paid. So nobody caught it until the tax bill went out to these folks and they said, we sold that a year ago. So we started looking into it. So it was just an oversight by the lister's office, which we could change this way.
How come the state fish and wildlife didn't come tell us about that one?
It's a fair question.
They may not have known that. Do you
You
want to
said
see
it was
this?
federal, not state.
That one is U.S. Fish and
Oh,
Wildlife.
that's why.
This one, was that Vermont Fish and
Yes.
Wildlife?
Yeah.
Okay, they're different then, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Feds don't care about.
Right.
So the lister signed that, it needs to be signed by you all if you agree and recorded.
Do we need to make a motion to do so?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be good.
I will move to sign the errors and omissions certificate from the listers.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And that's it for me.
Okay. Heidi?
I would start with Better Back Roads. Grants are open. Butch is meeting with Jim Smith to go over those, and they're looking at doing something on Rice Hill
It's only 3 spaces.
and Tart
I
Road.
was talking to Butch again the other night. He stopped by and he is very adamant we need to take a break on grants. He is really far behind on tree cutting, other things, and this fall with Frontage Road and the other stuff that's going on, he said we're not getting things done. This is the latest they had plow trucks in, getting them ready. He's like, it can't keep going on like this. We need to stop and focus on getting trees cut. We need time. So I told him I'd bring it.
So,
And I know we talked about it 6 months ago, whatever it was, that we all agreed to cut back on grants. I know they're great. It helps out. It's essentially free money. We're bettering water quality in our town. We're fixing up roads that probably would get neglected otherwise. But at the same time, we have a lot of dead trees falling during windstorms and rainstorms, as we saw this past week. The sides of the roads are getting built up, so the water is running down the road and eroding the road instead of tapering off the way it should. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but Butch addressed his concerns to me.
I agree with you 100%, Josh. I think, there's a lot of dead trees out there. And as you know, we cut one last Thursday night,
That's right. Richard worked his butt off. You guys have been very impressed.
yeah. No, I think you're right, Josh. I think if they've got a lot to do and they're falling behind, we told Butch, he sat right there. Well, we told him, if you get overwhelmed, we told him to come see us or talk to you, and I think, I think they got a lot on their plate.
I mean, it's,
so what projects do they have for next year?
we'll just get caught up on the stuff that they've been pushing off every year. Maybe we should have a sit-down meeting before we approve this. I don't know, when's the deadline on this one?
December 12th.
It just got extended, yes.
So next
December
meeting,
12th.
let's get Butch in here. Let's talk about the projects. Let's talk about everything and get it opened up, and then we can figure out what we have time for, what we have planned for, what's he think it'll take to do.
Right, because he got nailed this year because he was backlogged from the year before.
Right.
So yeah, we don't want that to happen again.
And Butch is stressed right now. I talked to him for like time. He is stressed. So if we keep
I had many people today comment on how slippery our ramp is. The FedEx guy almost whoop-de-woo
We
today.
talk about this wooden junk out there.
That's what it's.
And Butch expressed it to me today too. He's concerned that someone's going to get hurt.
Okay.
He suggested rubber mat, something on that wooden portion, something.
Something's rough.
Something
Today was
rough.
the first day and it was,
Probably put
I
a
was out
water
there,
hog
I was
out
out there
there.
every hour trying to keep it clear so people
Right.
wouldn't fall. I don't know.
Oh, you can buy
We'll
these.
do some digging tomorrow, I'll have time
Sit
tomorrow.
down on it,
Look
the
and see what we can
non-slips.
find.
Right.
Strips. I don't know.
there's
if they're-
coatings you can put on. There's
They're a non-slip stuff, like a little gravel tape stuff they put down.
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Going back to the better back roads, is it a requirement of the grants themselves that it involves town personnel and town equipment, or is that something we always have done? So could we still apply without town, so they could catch up on this stuff?
We have mostly used in kind as our match, yes.
Right?
Mill Hill, we did hire Scott Goodhue to do it. That was a Better Back Roads grant. It went very well, and we
But
still came in under
But we
budget.
still used our trucks and stuff, right?
Yep,
So
Yeah.
that's all time that takes that they're not getting things done. Yes, we still hired a subcontractor to do most of it, but we still had trucks and hauling and yes, if we can do a grant and there's enough funds in that grant to hire a subcontractor and do it and get it done with, yeah, I don't want to pass that up by any means. But if we're putting more strain on our guys when they need to get, I mean, we told taxpayers last town meeting day that we would be working on the berms and tree cutting, and I don't think they got to it as much as they wanted to this year.
So part of this Water Quality Act, we did well this year in showing that we were making progress on this to the state. If we cut back on this, are we putting ourselves at a detrimental position with the state?
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe so. So, well, after you discuss it with Butch, just keep in mind that those grants are good for 2 years, so it doesn't have to happen in the first summer. You have, a 24-month period to accomplish your task. And they are larger grants now, so you can sub them out like you did on Mill Hill.
And see, I don't have a problem with that at all. Butch came to me with a concern. And I think he has a valid point.
Agreed.
So I think, and it may be already happening, I'm not quite sure on all the process, but I really think that if we have things that need to be done, and I agree with you, Josh and Richard, both, that there's trees, the shoulders need to be knocked down and stuff, we need to be looking for grants for the things that need to be done. You know what I mean? Make that list and then we can find the grants for that, not, not something that would like to be done with, I don't know, whatever the Rice Hill project would be or whatever, but I think that's the way we need to go for this coming fiscal year. Just my opinion.
Okay. So
I'm not aware of any grants for routine roadside maintenance like that. So,
I'm just gonna ask you that question.
no, not that I could think of. So we'll table that.
Yes. Put
You,
you in to discuss.
you had asked me to get an engineer's evaluation on the weight limit for the Macy Road when the bridge weight restrictions are lifted. And he did give you a statement in your packet, is that they don't believe it's a good idea to raise the weight limit. So how that would work out is up for discussion, because it's not an easy fix, and there's a lot of agricultural vehicles that you're not going to be able to keep off the road. But we can continue to pursue that and see what else we would need
I
to
think we
do.
have to go what the engineer says, and if a agricultural vehicle or any vehicle violates the weight limit and causes damage to the road or themselves, well, we had to post a weight limit of this, you exceeded it, it's not the town responsibility.
Agriculture is exempt.
Yeah.
Not with town policy. That is what happened with the bridge, right?
We wrote it into our traffic ordinance to include agricultural vehicles, but I don't know, I really don't know if it would hold up. I mean, we did it at the advice of AOT. But it's a very gray area, I would say. But we can proceed with that, and it doesn't hurt to have the weight limit. It's going to keep some trucks off the road, as it has with the bridge.
I think we should till at least we get that fixed.
But it's mostly, it's mostly agriculture, right?
Yes.
So why put a restriction if it would go anyways? What, I don't, you know,
Who knows what other trucks we're keeping out right now that are buying the law? Who knows? I don't know.
you're not gonna stop milk trucks, you're not gonna stop, so, I don't know, I just feel like, you're putting it up for no reason, I think.
Well, even if you
I don't know.
don't, even if you don't intend to enforce it, if you do have that weight restriction after your engineer has
Is it gonna
said
help
that
us?
he thinks it's not a good idea to raise the weight limit, then you're just protecting the town from liability. You're making people aware of it.
Okay.
So even if you never do anything about it,
That's my take.
My biggest thing is, I just don't wanna see, okay, farm truck goes through, no problem, they're exempt. Another truck that it isn't an ag truck that goes through, and they get stopped and they get a fine. To me, that isn't fair. You're just going through town once and you get a fine, but the ag trucks are the ones that are, I don't know,
that's true on every road though. I mean, there's weight restrictions on many of our roads in the spring, and ag vehicles were still crossing the bridge even though we had weight restrictions on it. But we were protecting the town.
what's that?
Your ag vehicles do more damage because they're way over the weight.
Keep the honest ones out.
I'll find out what else we'd have to do and put it in front of you next time. So there is a design in your packet. It's a very preliminary design for the Macy roadside repair. And that is ready to go to AOT to go through their review process, which will take several months. So if you have any comments on that, let me know. And the FEMA transfer station slide, still have not made a decision on that grant. So there's a little more information in your packet on what it would cost to build a new sand shed rather than trying to fix this slope behind it. And I worked with Randy Reed, who, like Jim, was a former AOT engineer. And he came up with the estimate there that is $833,000 to rebuild what you have for a sand shed. That center sand shed storage area, 2 equipment sheds, 1 heated room, electricity, 3 outside pads, and a loading area in the front. So, did you all find that page? It outlines for your FEMA grant, your match to fix the slope behind the sand shed was $228,000. So then the question came up, does it make more sense just to build a new garage? But the garage is running $833,000. There are AOT grants to build new garages, but you have to be able to prove a water quality concern to get that funding, and it is a maximum of $300,000. So you'd still have to put out more than
How
$500,000.
can you guys didn't decide this when I was gone?
I tried.
Very disappointed.
Don't make me swear on TV.
So using those numbers, it looks cheaper to repair the slope, pay the 25%.
I'm not worried about that slope behind there. I don't know why, but
I don't know where they got that 833,000 from.
It's
that's state funding.
yeah, it has to do with states and towns seem to cost so much more to do anything. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, if we put that out to bid, he's probably not that far off.
I talked with Fairfield and they put one out to bid, and their bids were $700 and something thousand to do it.
So my thought is, let's apply for the FEMA grant, both areas. If we choose not to do the sand shed, then we don't accept that portion of the money. But at least FEMA may take, with the cleanup they have now, you know, you may have years before they ever make any decision on that money. We've been doing this since what year?
2013.
And it hasn't moved.
Right.
It has moved.
Well, having said that
Moved
though.
a few times.
Yeah, having said that though, the drainage system failure,
So that.
I would be highly in favor of spending that money to get that portion of it fixed.
Yeah.
So that we don't cause unnecessary damage to what we have holding so far. So you want to take it piece by piece? So we have a bid from GW Tatro to fix the drainage pipe that's broken and dislodged. That's actually causing
For that
more.
much money, do we have to get more bids than one bid?
They put in the original system,
So it's warranty work?
well, not really, because they're
That's why I
charging
had
us.
contacted them. I was hoping, but, I mean, we could put it out to bid,
Casella?
but it's really hard to bid apples to apples because you don't have a design. So, do you want me to get someone to make you a design? Then we could put it out to bid.
That sounds like it costs more money.
Shelley, do we have any money?
Yes, money was put aside for the stabilization of the CIP. 50,000. This year, we put 50,000 in this year.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I feel like it should go out to bid. But like you said, we needed something to compare apples to apples. Did GW give you a description of how they're gonna fix it? Or did they just say, we're gonna go in there with an excavator, dig around a little bit, move some rocks, put a tile in, call it, charge you $12,500?
What they have given me is that one piece of paper you have in front of you with very little detail. They've just said that it's a very easy fix. Just reconnect that pipe. But it's just a tough spot. So the challenge is making a road down in there to do the work.
I still think we should talk to our friends at Casella, since they have their own equipment and everything, and maybe have it cheaper. I don't know.
He was supposed to be here today.
Yep, he said he'd come around 8 or
Okay.
so, because he's on late. So, yeah, this is no reason not to.
Oh, maybe.
So let's talk to him, let's table this and talk to him when he gets.
Okay, so that portion.
The 12.5, yep.
Yeah. So what about the FEMA grant?
You go over there. Question for Shelley. Did you find out if the town could possibly, trying to think of a bond for doing this?
I'm not looking at bonds until you even apply, honestly. There's no point in me looking into bonds when you haven't even applied. And if
Well,
it's going to be years down the road.
I think it's gonna be
get some
years. I think-
information, But I don't see why we couldn't get a bond
We
to
can-
fix our infrastructure.
We can
Thanks for
deny the
bonding
funds,
for-
correct?
Pardon?
But we can deny the funds, correct? But it's created, so if we approve it all, it's created as one project, but then say, when it gets down to, go time, we say, well, we decided not to do behind the sand shed, we can't pull just that part out, right? We have to do it all?
You can pull that part out, and that's what Lauren said last, sorry, you weren't here.
Yeah. so
It's just an
Can't add
amendment.
You just can't add it.
You can,
You can
we wouldn't be able to
decrease-
add it in. We'd be
Okay.
able to take out the sand shed. We
So-
can't do it reverse. We
Okay,
have to
so
fix the
I'll make a
landfill.
motion to apply for it all, and we can scale back at the time if need be.
I'll second that.
Alright. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those
I'll
opposed?
be retired by then anyway.
Or it could happen next week.
It's not happening next week.
No.
Highly unlikely.
Okay.
I think the rest is under you.
Alright. So, we have Mr. Casella here.
First time.
It was. It was.
Perfect.
You're right on it, Heidi.
So,
Yeah.
how goes the trash and recycling business?
It's going well.
That's good.
Challenging, but everyone's got challenges, right? So,
Yeah. So we have some challenges with the transfer station.
yeah. No, so we did have, I had a construction company that come up and look at the property just to kind of get a lay of the land, of the land. We looked at the design, from Geo Design, kind of trying to factor all that stuff in. And it does look like a pretty extensive plan to repair some of those areas, around $2 million. I don't know at what phases. I think the big thing is too, once you actually, you gotta get a little more details from them on the borings and some of the other, like the samples that they took, just to say, once you get all the way in there, will you have issues? But I mean, at a minimum, I think you're looking at like a $2 million, give or take. I mean, obviously, expense to kind of fix some of those different areas. So, you know, Heidi had talked a little bit about, you know, the transfer station operation. If the town wants to continue that, or if they were to be interested in, you know, the possibility of us taking that over and kind of, I just want to come and understand what your guys' thoughts were and how would that structure.
Could that landfill that's there now be moved?
It could be. I mean, you could excavate it out and place it somewhere else. I would have to, that's a theoretically, yes.
I mean,
Depending on.
in today's standards, it doesn't seem like a lot. Obviously, we don't know how deep it goes, but I mean, back then to move that much, yeah, it'd be astronomical. But nowadays, trucks, everything, the equipment's bigger. What would it take to move that if then we don't have to worry about that other slide on the backside of that?
Gotcha. That's a great question. I mean, I would have to, I wasn't ready for that one. But it's a great question and great concept in some sense. If you were to able to move all.
I would think you can move it way cheaper than $1 million, $500,000. I don't know. I mean,
It depends on how much,
Right.
how many tons of trash are in it, right?
Right.
So I think that's the biggest factor
But-
too.
in the trash order, I know nothing about it, but it is feasible to
Yes.
pack it up, move it to a
Yeah.
different landfill.
Yeah. Good. So that is another option that I'll start doing some more research on and trying to get an idea of. I mean, I think that's gonna be a harder one to say, here's what it would take to move it. I don't know how many years that operated, off the top of my head, when it was open.
I don't know either. I think it was less than 10 years it was open.
Gotcha. So, yeah, so I'll dig into those details as well to try to.
It's just something we talked about maybe
Yeah.
2 months ago now, and I didn't know if that information got to you and
Yeah.
think about that.
I'll definitely look into that and then look into, I think the other thing is, you know, the other question would be if we were to take over that, if we purchased the transfer station from you or work a deal where we take over custodial care of that site where the town then wouldn't have any liability. That's another option as well. We had done some other things, and I know in Bristol, we actually did a cap and fill, but in talking with some of the regulators, where you actually bring in other materials that might not be MSW, but it would be, if there's a big project going on and they need to get rid of like some contaminated soil, you bring that material in and use that to actually fix some of your issues, so you're actually getting some revenue to actually fix your issues. So like Bristol did it, where they actually brought in a lot of like tailings from a mining operation to actually reshape and reconfigure and get the.
We got a mining operation just down the road with a lot of tailings.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, depending on what they're doing with those tailings right now, right? Do they have their own way to manage them on site, or are they having to truck them off and pay to get rid of them? That'd be the biggest question. But looking into that is another option. I think in talking with some people through the state, that might be a tougher challenge with some of the issues that are going on right now, and just the space, you have to expand it to fix it.
So would you have any interest in actually taking over?
Yeah, no, we definitely would have interest in it. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is, I mean, that's the business end that we're in, right? So the liability piece of it, and if some of our compliance people are saying yes or no, I'm saying, well, we own other landfills. So
Right.
that liability is pretty much the same, whether it's this site versus that site, and obviously having a facility that we're operating out of as well right now. You guys that's another piece of it. So we would definitely entertain that and kind of try to understand what your goals would be for that. And I mean, if you're thinking that would be an option that you would be looking for, would be interesting as well.
The other thing that's been brought up is possibly moving the transfer station,
Yeah.
which I don't know what that would do to your side of the operation as far as what kind of cost that would involve for you and whether that would be feasible for you.
That would probably be pretty difficult. I think it's just the infrastructure that's there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just replaced the scale there.
Okay.
All those concrete pits and everything.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about those concrete pits, right, where you actually dump the trash, those things are, $250,000, so they're not meant to be moved. In some sense, it's concrete reinforced with steel, and as you actually load trash and operate on it, they go down and go down and go down, and they get to dirt, and then you have to build them back up. So pretty much you're constantly chewing through that floor.
Right.
But it's definitely a possibility to move. It's just
Not particularly feasible.
well, the buildings, the facilities,
Right.
Right. You're now adding a lot of costs there as well.
Right.
Of new capital items that you have to say how do you rebuild them.
Well, if the board wants to go into executive with Mr. Casella, you can do that. You have that ability as part of your contract discussion.
The other thing too would be, we also have a section that from the last fix that needs repair.
Yeah.
So we have a quote right now of $12,500 from GW Tetra, who did the original work.
Yeah.
So that would be another piece that is thrown to the puzzle.
Yeah. 1.2 or 1.8, 1.9 million, another $12,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me that much. And I think for us, it's just understanding that liability. I mean, I think that's the big piece of it, but I mean, like I said, again, I think that's the business that we're in, so we're willing to take that risk. And it's just trying to understand, how to make that work for the town as well. And obviously, we have the host community fee right now, $2.50 a ton, and what we do with that. And then, do we use some of those funds for something, or how do we do those things as well? What makes the most sense, and do you guys have any further land at some point as well in the future, or is it better just to say, deal with it and we work out some sort of arrangement to purchase the site, or purchase the site and take on the liability, or how we work through those things?
Okay. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Jeff?
When does the current lease or agreement with Casella end?
We have 6 more years, I think.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
Sounds about right.
And how long has it been $250 per ton?
I think that was renegotiated at the last agreement.
2 years ago, 5 years ago?
I think it was pretty close to 5.
Yeah.
It was before I got on, I know that.
Yeah, 2013, 14.
And before that, it was, I'm just making the case that
Yes.
that part hasn't gone up in a while.
Yeah. It was,
Even though I know your revenues and, all the recycling bit and all that. Now the, what do you call it, the other part of the piece of the puzzle that you guys are dealing with, the universal recycling of the scraps, food scraps.
yeah.
It just seems to me that, we're still at 250 where, I hope the board is just make sure that we're renegotiating that piece.
Yeah, we've had a couple of discussions.
Yeah, I think for us that 250 it just kind of, in some sense, it flows back through to the community, right? One way, it's just another tax, so.
Yeah, well, my rate's gone up $12 in the past 2 years,
Yeah.
like everybody else, so I just wanna make sure that, you know, it's a town asset and that we're, you know, doing the best that we can for the town residents.
Yep. Okay, so I would ask if you don't mind to stay for executive session. We have a few more items to touch on and then we'll go into it.
We're going farther,
Absolutely.
about the ramp, I would personally ask the select board to make sure that something's on it before somebody slides and puts himself. I think that should be addressed tonight. Winter's coming and I hate to see somebody get hurt out there. I just want to make sure that it gets addressed and get something done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And they sell rolls of that grip tape or whatever for the stuff over at the
Yeah,
cones.
because I hate to see somebody get hurt and then come back and sue
Oh, yeah.
us for falling.
Yeah. I just don't wanna see anybody get hurt.
Exactly, exactly.
So yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, health order. Do we have a closeout letter to sign?
You do. I'm trying to locate it in this stack of papers here. I have found it.
Okay. So, has everyone had a chance to look at the health order closeout letter? Do I have a motion to sign?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. We also have a memorandum of understanding for the St. Albans Police Department to put
Communications equipment.
yes, there you go, onto our tower outside of the fire department. Any comments or questions about that memorandum?
None?
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve and sign?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 You can sign the one right here. It was just a plain black and white.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Did we get any insulation bids?
You do? You have two.
Hot diggity.
Two.
Okay. Will I find that? You can do that.
Josh has one right there. That'll do. They're all the exact same. Or is that
Oh.
it, right on top?
Oh, yep. Oh, there it is. Where was it there?
Have you seen these letters?
First one is from, looks like Kilberry Construction. Project manager be Cliff Para. $19,650, and that is to install insulation per Arnold and Skangus Architects, dated on 2019. There is an ad alternate. Says delete all work associated with furnishing and installing 4-inch of shelter IX or equal EPS rigid insulation R5 per inch, tape seal joints 1 inch of foil face, thermoflex rigid insulation tape seal joints over existing gypsum wallboard ceiling, relocate existing wiring, boxes for pedestal light fixtures face, but I don't see a total for the ad alternate, so I don't know why that's there. I don't see a price tag for the ad alternate, so it's kind of confusing. What's that one, Bruce?
Well, there's this bid from Millbrook Building and Remodeling Incorporated. First part of the bid says a lump sum of $39,500.00. And this would take some reading to thoroughly understand, but they've detailed 2 alternates here of some sort. I guess alternate ways of fulfilling the specifications. First alternate would add $5,350. I'm assuming to the $39,500. And the second alternate would add $12,350.
Seems like a lot of insulation. So, my recommendation would have our architect review both of these and see what they suggest.
I'd like to take it in the executive session, please.
All right, any problems with that?
I don't problem with that.
Okay.
What else you got?
And then the last one is Platte Road.
We have some residents in the house.
It's nice to see you back.
Looking good, Jeff.
I miss these Thursday nights.
He says with a snicker.
So, no, go ahead, it's on the agenda, so you guys go ahead and we'll save our comments for the end and see what has to be said.
Well, I put 2 pieces of correspondence from residents in there, as well as the original letter we sent out. And the letter that was sent to all the residents was that this was at the request of one family. If it didn't suit the others, that maybe they should work it out amongst themselves so that they're all in agreement. So those 2 letters seem to have another idea. I don't know as they're opposed to the original. And do you have opposition or
No,
support one way or the
fine.
other? No.
We're fine with what Butch and Josh, I think, have come up with, or whoever came up with it. And it's basically the same thing you guys have done for the last 17 years since we lived there. It's a tough road.
Yeah.
It's a seasonal camp neighborhood. We knew that when we bought the property, but we're at the end of a dead-end road. And the people that came, the Browns, who came here a few weeks ago, they had mentioned it to us. And frankly, I'll just say that for them to put out a snow fence on Missisquoi Bay Road, a dead-end road, didn't do anything except somebody took it upon themselves to move it. And I had said that to them when they first put it in. So here we are, taking up the town's time about a civil matter. And again, yesterday, they put up another structure in the right of way, and it's gonna happen again. But again, your town policy states, the snow removal policy, they can't put anything in that right of way. So if you wanna do something about that, I would, but I'll speak to them when I see them, that it's just gonna happen again. Someone's going to, just like anyone on Lampkin Street who has a fence in the right of way, they take the chance, or any street in Highgate or road that's gonna get damaged by it.
Well, the resident just before them sent a letter saying we could put the snow down.
Yes, and that's the Bouchiers, and they actually purchased the property from us, so across the street that we owned for the last 5 years. He has no problem, they have no problem doing it, just like you guys have always done. It's, except last year, again, they put the structure up, and it was not knit, the town plow driver, he did not do that, okay? You know, I think we have our own theories of what happened, but, you know.
Right.
A couple things were said, from the Browns' point of view, was, one, that the town had plowed my driveway. Well, when Nick comes by at 4:30, 4:05 in the morning, both my vehicles are in the driveway. So there's no way for anyone to plow my driveway. I just want to state that. And the other thing was, they said our plow driver, well, this is she doesn't plow, shovels. Okay, I'm physically unable to do it, but, so again, something else I just want to clear up, that we don't have a plow driver. There's people that go down that end of that road where the town line ends and it turns into private property. People who fish, people who enter that property at their own risk. They drop their plows.
That's what I figured would happen.
So we see it all the time. And we also, people come to walk up the hill and they call CODIS from our house because they get stuck down there. So, again, the reason we're here tonight is just to, you know, we're happy with the way the town has always plowed that road. And the only thing that's changed is someone has moved in and put up these stakes or these structures to protect their driveway while they're not there in the winter. So I try to work it out to the best that I can. Anybody knows me knows I try to work things out. But this one's
difficult.
Well, this has gotten to here, which so we're trying to work it out and just let you know our side of the story. Some of the other neighbors have written letters. There's only 4 houses on that road during the winter. That's a tough road. They go in and they back all the way out. They do one sweep, that's it, that's all they need to do.
Right.
But.
Now, are you the only full-time resident?
No, there's 4. There's 20 houses on the
okay.
road. And there's 4, there's ourselves, the Menards, the Campbells, and Kathy Paquette who live on that road. But again, we all, you know, it's a tough road. And people who live in town really don't go down, there's not a way to turn around.
Right.
So you have to back out. Anyways, that's why we're here. I appreciate the neighbors, what they've said. I think if you can read it for the record, just so that, you know, if this comes up again, because they feel, you know, it might come up again.
You can have all those letters, I saw 1 or 2 of them.
Yep.
These are all on here.
It's just those 2.
So we appreciate you coming because your name had been bandied about there pretty good. How, yes, we were plowing your driveway and.
Well, I wish part of this group is just.
We knew we weren't plowing your driveway, but.
Would be nice. I wish somebody plowed my driveway.
Got time for Ty to go to bed?
To wake up, uh-oh. No sleep tonight.
This is one I read.
All right.
so did you want them to read them?
Yes, I'd like you to read those for the record.
Oh, okay.
Stuff that was, you know.
They're addressed to you, so yes.
Yep.
Just wanna
Certainly.
make sure.
This one is, dear Ms. Larock, thank you for, thank you, copy your letter written to John Poole and Tammy Brown in regards to winter plowing for the Platte Road. My husband and I own the summer camp at 124 Platte Road, and it is next door to John and Tammy. We understand your difficulty in trying to please them. Our biggest concern is for Jeff and Tiffany Terrell. They live on the Platte Road year-round and have been there for 17 years. Jeff has a serious medical issue that makes it necessary for him to have access to help if he needs. We are aware that a fellow neighbor has offered up a solution to accommodate the removal of the snow without going over John and Tammy's boundary line. Please consider his suggestion that would eliminate any major changes to the current winter plowing policy that has worked just fine for years. Please know that we appreciate the town's efforts to keep our tiny road clear of snow during the challenging winter months. Thank you, Timothy and Gail McKenna. The other one is, I understand there was an issue with John Poole and Tammy Brown about plowing last year. I think their grievance is unfounded and that if anyone examined their foundation would see that 2 of the camp's sill plates are below grade and that any moisture from heavy rain or any snow spring runoff could cause a problem. To keep any snow from their property just stop short of their boundary line that adjourns ours. I would be willing to put up a marker if needed. Feel free to reply if I can be some help. Brian Bouzier. I can't tell the last name. Those are the only 2 I have. I didn't see any others.
And just so Butch and Nick have offered, are going to come up and just make sure we're all, you know, on the same page. Because I think you guys had sent the letter, the copy of the map where you put somebody had marked the marker on it with Y, and it was just some, so Butch and Nick will be up and I'm sure it'll be taken care of. And like I said, you know, there's gonna be runoff up there and the Browns will have to deal with it like previous owners.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we appreciate that yourselves and your neighbors understand that it's difficult for the town and we're trying to do the best that we can.
right. Right.
And we want to make sure we handle all these situations the same way in that, you know, sometimes it's late, it's snowing like crazy. Oh, I plowed a little too far, but I'm not saying that to happen here. Just, you know, they do the best they can in terrible conditions and.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, Jeff.
Yes. It was wonderful to see you. Okay. So, is there anything else? Any other public comments?
Ty's here, is he? The
No,
observer.
me, I'm only the ones that I complain at.
Well, I'm just gonna be working on this Christmas thing.
Yeah.
Christmas light contest.
Can I get those bids, please? Thank you.
We're still
Good
gonna
night.
talk about them.
Okay.
I make a
So-
motion that exit regular meeting, enter an executive to talk about our construction bids and to talk to Mr. Casella.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Uh,
I didn't ask for a second. You can put me down as a second.